Over the course of the next 2 matches, we will have finally determined the final 6 players that will move on to Championship Saturday. That is day 3 of the Quake World Championship. I'm DJ Wheat, joined once again by Flea and Ketchup, and we have Xron versus cha1n coming up next. Gentlemen, welcome back. How's it going?
Going well.
It's been another long day, but another great day of so many interesting matches, some upsets, some surprises. The challengers continue to step up to the plate, and here we are for one of our final 2 matches. Yeah,
absolutely. It's the energy, the hype of LAN that's keep us all going at these long days.
That's
but
right.
Indeed, we're close to winding down the day. 2 more series up, starting off with this one, right? This very one, Xron versus cha1n rather, and that is going to be quite a matchup.
I feel like there's so much to talk about with cha1n in particular. I feel like a lot of people out there might not have sort of predicted cha1n to reach this far. If you're going by the year's results almost, you know, we very much were not getting the cha1n that we had once upon a time. But am I happy to see this kind of development where someone's able to kind of return to that glory? And if cha1n's able to win this, it's just like, dude, come on. Like, that's such a storyline.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about it, you know, it seems like 2 finals ago where we saw, like, cha1n really kind of rip open his shirt and bust out his superpowers, and then we said, hey, you need to keep an eye on cha1n. He had some ups and downs during regular seasons, but here once again in a moment where this is where it counts the most, he is performing with the possibility of joining the other 5 players that will be in tomorrow's finals. But he has, you know, definitely a difficult matchup against him because Xron is one of these players that has come in through the Challenger, that has been surprising and upsetting a lot of folks, and is certainly showcasing his potential to potentially also be one of the 6 players in the final day.
But if we look at his match history so far, cha1n definitely has got what it takes, right? You're talking about how difficult of a matchup this is, and that's definitely true. But so far, he's beaten Proximo, Sparty, Sip, and last but definitely not least, Avik just moments ago. So cha1n is on an absolute tear. Yes, this is going to be a difficult matchup, but as you just said, the cha1n that we've seen now is playing some of the best Quake, he said himself, that he's ever played.
Yeah, and, you know, it's got to still find that momentum, wondering, and we were talking a little bit about, does that win over Avik kind of help elevate that momentum and let you take that into the next matchup? And, you know, his opponent, Xron, who has also been performing very well. Ketchup, what do you think when you look at this matchup?
Xron has just continued to impress this weekend. I admittedly was one of the people that was kind of looking at the bracket and thinking, Xron, definitely the kind of player that could maybe win a couple of games here, but I kind of never realistically saw it going that much further just because of the pedigree of players that we have in this bracket today. And, well, I guess yesterday as well. But Xron proving that I think dedication and the grind, something that Xron was doing so much in like 2017 and 2018, like 24/7, living and breathing any of the modes, any of the new champions, any tournaments that were coming up. Like, that kind of player is at some point going to come back and just start reminding everyone that they're still incredibly strong. And there's so much natural talent there.
Absolutely. I mean, you said it yesterday, Wheat. Playing Quake is kind of like riding a bike. You know, it's something that you never really forget. And for these top-level players, they always have that surface-level skin. And yes, they can get a little rusty. They can get out of practice. But after a few weeks or months of intensive training, they can very easily regain their player form.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting thing about Xron, too, is that when you look at his results, they've kind of been so dynamic, right? You had the 10-minute overtime 0-0 game with Tox. You had the complete blowouts. You had really close games as well. There hasn't necessarily been like one set style or way or methodical approach for Xron. It's just kind of been whatever works, and he seems to be a player who plays in the moment. So with that being said, let's take a look at these picks and bans so we can get the game started, as we're going to have Xron picking Blood Covenant, and then going on to Veil, which will be the pick for cha1n. And finally, our remaining map will be Awoken after the other bans are taken out. Let's take a look at these champion picks. Anything unusual there?
I mean, I'm looking at Blood Covenant, and I mean, I'm really looking at all of them. And once again, safety, safety, safety. Like, no one's trying to be... I don't even want to use the word creative, because you don't need to be at this point. You need to go with what you know works and you know fits your gameplay the best. Athena removed immediately, making perfect sense, because Blood Covenant is our first map. Nyx versus Anarchy, two very similar champions in terms of how light they are and how much damage they cannot take. But at the same time, mobility. There's a key difference there where Anarchy fits Chain pretty damn well. Removing Scalebearer on Veil, kind of just removing that element entirely. We're later on in the bracket now, and if there's even a chance that Scalebearer is going to be able to combine with Veil and almost rob a map, we don't want to make sure that that doesn't happen. And now with Awoken, if we are able to reach that one, it's just pure damage versus speed again.
I think that the Awoken is the most unusual one of the bunch for me, the BJ. Right?
Yeah.
All of these are very standard picks, and yes, we have seen BJ been played on Awoken before, absolutely so. But this is rather unusual, right? Playing against Strock, you would expect perhaps a champion with a little bit more mobility. Xron, of course, did take away the Doomslayer, so you couldn't have used that double jump around the center area of the map. But still, BJ is not a go-to pick for this map.
No, not. And Xron has actually prioritized Doom pick on this map too, and not being able to get it. Maybe just said, "Oh, if I can't have it, you're not going to have it either." So that will be interesting if we do go to a third and final map to see how that might play out. But gentlemen, I think both players are about ready. We've got our picks and bans. One more game after this one, but this matchup determines who else will be moving on with the other, or as one of the 6 players that is going on to the finals day. So any predictions before we jump into this matchup?
Ketchup, I'm gonna let you go first.
I'm gonna be honest, with how Chain was able to play against Avec, I think Chain could 2-0 this. A 2-1 if Xron is continuing to play as well as he has been all day, which I think is a fair assumption.
Sure.
2-1 likely, but I strongly think that Chain could definitely take this in a 2-0.
Yeah. I'm going to say 2-1 for Chain. I think Xron has been playing exceptionally well, but just that matchup against Avec just moments ago, Chain just proved how capable he is, how he's playing close to his perfect level, his peak. I don't know if Xron can stand up to that.
Yeah, I mean, the other element that comes into play here is sort of this stamina play, but I would also say both players have been going through the rotations here and have had plenty of games. So I don't know. If one player scores a little bit higher on their stamina stat, then that might play into this one, but that is hard to say. I would also say, based off of how Chain looked in the last matchup, how I think he's feeling, it sounded like from him, right? If he finds it, maybe he's going to have exactly what he needs in order to take this out. But don't count Xron out. A great player. Certainly an interesting story here in the grand scheme of this tournament as well. Also, it's just pretty fantastic to see that, right, of all of the challengers, we've had so many go fairly deep in the tournament, and he kind of remains as that last blood of challenger remaining. So how will this go? Well, we're jumping into our final map, or excuse me, our first map in order to get started. Our second to last game. Gentlemen, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you very much. The Blood Covenant, something we haven't seen a huge amount of today, and it has been quite interesting to me, Flea, how certain maps that we weren't really seeing anywhere near as often on the weeklies as we are now, the Ruins, the Corrupted Keep, like they're almost every single time.
Absolutely, and Veil really hasn't been picked all that often, comparatively speaking at least. So indeed, the Blood Covenants come out to play several times, but definitely not one of the primary chosen maps so far. And with that, warm-up is about to come to a close. Both of the players have readied up. We're kicking it into high gear. First map of this crucial series, Chain versus Xron. Loser is out.
Elimination territory is always one of the saddest times because you never want to see someone be eliminated, but it's got to happen. Now, looking at things through Chain's point of view first, we are starting to do something that's great for the lights, pick up armor, the heavy. We were seeing some matches earlier today, quite a few involving the lights, where the second someone can't get access to that heavy, it doesn't matter how much health they've got, especially on LAN, or people will be able to kind of hit those shots all the time. But as we jump now into the rest of this, an opening rail, lovely decision there out of the teleporter exit, and actually looking to hit another one. Here comes Xron.
Chain returning the favor. Interesting to see that neither player attempted to deny access to the railgun. Something that typically happens on Blood Covenant, so both of them already have that tool of destruction in their hands. No offset between the items either. Very conservative, respectful start by both of these players. No one really wanting to go in. Xron landing 2 rails and even then deciding to just stick over on the rocket side.
Ooh, that rail. That's a scary encounter to have. Rain? cha1n, I think, would very much appreciate landing those rails just before we have that armor. Unfortunately, though, did take a little bit of damage. Actually, the aggressive wall jump there from Xron is going to kind of strong arm and be able to take that heavy. But I actually think at the same time, Xron, playing a smart game here, was expecting cha1n to go towards Mega. Instead, chose to leave heavy, push towards there as well, and actually kind of looks like not particularly sure on which item to go for, because cha1n just kind of running rings around and, wait a minute, he's taking it anyway. What? That was such a strange exchange.
Xron was just holding down that entire area over from the rocket side, expecting cha1n to go back to the Mega, but he just never did. And so at one point, cha1n was just like, you know what, I think I heard you over a little towards the pillar, so now I'm going to use the injection, speed right on by, and claim this heavy, which is the most favorable of these items, for myself.
Injection should be coming back real soon. That tri-bolt is a fantastic start. Xron using the aggressive push there, though, in between. You want to push me? All right, well, let me just get this rail real quick. And we'll see if you're going to be able to stick to that plan. Now, we have been able to see a little bit of a stack upgrade here. Man, this has been a careful start.
Xron landing a nice rail over there. Would have been a shame if he had missed it, because he just had so much hang time on cha1n and he wasn't even looking in this direction. So definitely an easy shot for the Na'Vi player. Now both players kind of delayed their item pickups. They have no idea when the other actually chose theirs, but ultimately they're pretty much in perfect sync.
Nice little delay. You know, we're trying to be so careful through these teleporter exits. It's only been 3 minutes, but it feels like it's been so much longer with how careful both of these players are approaching it. There's so much on the line. You know, we can't forget this is late stage of the tournament. We're just about to enter tomorrow, which will be the championship final. But, you know, we're only a couple of games away from having our finalized roster for that. And 2 of these, they both like it very, very much. And even the smallest mistake that can take you out of it, you'll be thinking about that all year.
Oh, close. cha1n finally landing a few of those rails back to back. Now Xron definitely the one with the lower stack of the 2. Rockets won't connect. cha1n gonna fall back on heavy. And this is exactly the item that he wants. He's playing as Anarchy. He's got that injection, that Mega in his own pocket. So he wants armor rather than health. And that should give him an inherent advantage over Xron if they keep sticking to these majors.
Been a bit of a cycle so far. Question is, which player is going to be the one to break it? It's going to take so much, for me, really, confidence to be able to do so, because really neither player is in such a terrible situation so far, but the moment someone pushes, if that push doesn't work and you lose a frag because of it, you're going to be sitting there thinking, why didn't I wait an extra minute, maybe an extra 2, maybe the opponent would have been able to make the one that made that choice, but an opening rail. Okay, so some of the armor's already been shut down. Xron is going to drop down into the catacombs and kind of feels a bit like cha1n might have been expecting it. Looking at that side of the map and realizing I've just hit you with damage. Like, there's only one way you can get armor back from that part of the map.
Yeah. I feel like over the past minute or so, the scales have tipped slightly in cha1n's favor, but he has been unable to really do much with it. Now down to 21 points of health. Xron, can he finish it up? Now decides not to press his luck. Instead just falling back on the Mega. Such respect from these players. They know just how quickly any one of these fights can go wrong.
Half of the map is already done. And a patient both sides. Armor's about to spawn. A little bit of an escape rail. Unfortunately, cha1n cannot hit the mark. Tried though, but either way, now understanding I'm going to be dealing with a thoroughly stacked Nyx. So what do we do from this situation here? cha1n is now completely out of control, but with a rail in hand and an injection locked and loaded, there is a chance for cha1n to get rid of that stack, fight a little bit, you know, escape if you need to, but the existence of that inject does mean that cha1n's going to be just that little bit healthier than you might expect. However, Forced to retreat here. Does not want to have to spend the inject willy-nilly, and instead uses it to overstack. I like that, but watch out. Right behind you. Here we go. Xron takes first blood. That was a unusual encounter.
At long last, Xron had started out-damaging cha1n over these past few encounters. Is around 500 damage ahead of his opponent, and ultimately landing a few good rails at the right time allowed him to use that Ghost Walk aggressively. Take cha1n by surprise. Excellent play.
Now, it took all that time to secure one frag, and the pressure is going to start to amplify. One thing we haven't actually seen at all on this map is Xron needing to activate Ghost Walk for an escape. So there's like an entire layer of this matchup that, truthfully, we haven't seen rear its head yet, that if the pressure starts to amplify and cha1n decides to go in, we're going to have to see it. But what it's famous for, so nearly able to land that, is that it's hard to chase. And when you're running out of time, that is not a situation that you want to be in.
Xron got so little out of that engagement. Almost all of his shots did barely any damage, and meanwhile cha1n was able to retaliate with much more severely impactful shots. Now Xron is able to defend himself against cha1n's offense, get away with the mega. Oh, that's a lot of self-damage. You don't want to do that when you're light with no armor to your name, and cha1n drops! Excellent read. Beautiful shot as well, and now we're all tied up with 2.5 minutes left.
Xron certainly going to be regretting going in, I imagine. You know, it was such a slow and defensive game so far. The one time the aggressive Ghost Walk was used, and Xron paid the price for it. Now, a little bit of extra damage dealt there, healed up thanks to the inject. Mega picked up by Xron. It feels like it really shouldn't be a 1-1. It was such a sloppy moment to go for that Ghost Walk push in. Nothing worked out. cha1n just picks it up. And then even by the end of it, almost looked a little bit like Xron had just sort of conceded the frag, right? Because with the railgun ready to go, I guess at least if you spawn down there, you can pick it up and do something else. But it just feels like something that shouldn't have happened.
Mega up in 5 seconds. cha1n in control of the high ground. Let's see what Xron's gonna do. Yeah, both reading each other's positions perfectly. But the damage favors the Na'Vi player. Heavy still not up. cha1n decides not to stick around. Loops back around for that small armor, but Heavy is likely going to go in Xron's favor. However, Xron might not even know that it hasn't been taken. I think he's completely unaware of the fact that cha1n has not gone for that major item.
But in doing so now, after that fight, going to back up and just check at the very least.
Yeah.
At last is able to collect, and it might be pretty favorable as we push into these closing moments. Feels so much like we're going to be seeing a sudden death. Just over a minute left on the clock, and an even split of the scoreline. cha1n, excuse me, really doesn't want to take any risks. Xron took a risk, and look where it got him. I think we're going to be playing very, very patient in the final moments.
This has definitely been one of the slowest matches I think we've seen for the entirety of the championship. Especially considering that they're two light, small champions.
Hang on.
Oh, here we go. 40 seconds left. cha1n, if he can get this frag, he's probably golden to take home map 1.
cha1n knows there's no way Xron's going to be able to fight for this mega. Too weak in the escape. Rail hits its mark, 30 seconds to go. And now Xron chasing this is going to be very hard. This is not the kind of map that you can just spawn, rush, go in. This is a large map. This is a map that is notoriously difficult to do that in. And cha1n playing his cards right. This should be your moment.
Oh, good rockets as well. Xron, I think, has one chance, using the Ghost Walk right now, hoping to catch his opponent off guard. He's gonna go up the bounce pad, drop back down. They're going to meet each other, but cha1n so fast takes one rail in the back, but that injection puts him well out of harm's way, and that makes it so that the Canadian gets a 1-0 map lead from the get-go.
Feel like that was the slowest match that we've either had all day or one of. We'll be admit, you know, with the A stream and B stream, haven't been able to catch every single map live, but yeah, that's definitely one of them.
Absolutely, extremely calculated, so much respect coming out from both of these players. You could just tell, right? The stakes are so high right now.
Such little
Neither
damage.
one wants to end up having to chase the other, right? If you're Nyx and you have to chase Anarchy, it's an absolute pain because he's so much faster than you with the air control of the injection. But the same goes the other way around. If you're Anarchy and you have to chase Nyx, well, you have to essentially kill her twice because of the Ghost Walk. You always have to force that out first before you can get the frag. And that undoubtedly played a significant part in how both of these players approached map 1.
Some kind of unusual frags on that map, though, because even the first frag was that Xron was by near the light armor near Mega. cha1n kind of went round and just kind of really, for a lack of a better term, did not look that way and got taken by surprise. Then the second frag, the one that Xron conceded, was like, tried to go in with the Ghost Walk, but it didn't really accomplish anything, and then cha1n just did all the damage and then finished it off with the rail at the end. Like, as patient and calculated as that map was, when the fights actually took place, they were very unusual.
Oh yeah, they were. Last frag was also very entertaining to watch. Xron was not actually railable before that one little chip of tribal damage hurt him for 20. And so he figured, I have to move, runs across the rocket, and he was just below, I think it was 80-something points of health right there when cha1n's rail connected. And yeah, that's all she wrote. Map 1, cha1n has got a leg up in this competition. Let's see how map 2 goes. That's going to be a very different story, though.
Veil of Nath, it's always different. It's going to be so much more combat heavy compared to the Blood Covenant.
Yeah.
I think both players will be readying up here, so no doubt we'll be jumping into this match soon. But matchup-wise, it's again a similar affair. We have the Ranger from Xron, we have the Ison from cha1n. But the way cha1n has been playing recently, I feel good for him in this map. Like, if Xron was going to win one of these maps, the Blood Covenant was one that kind of immediately struck me. Most of the gameplay that Xron can bring forward, the champion that was being selected too, like, he was playing a lot of it well. Again, it just came down to those couple of very strange moments. Veil's like a totally different kettle of fish.
Absolutely.
But unfortunately, in my opinion, something that benefits cha1n a little bit more, who is already up a map.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, cha1n is going to be using the Ison, so he has that turret to work with. Drop it down. Very, very crucial tool at the teleporter exit, right? Divides your opponent's attention, is a source of damage. Also can give you critical information to just tell you where they're at on the match. But on the other hand, Xron is approaching this with Ranger. He can rocket jump for days, plus he has that orb. Such a powerful offensive as well as a defensive tool.
Well, we're currently in the warm-up, folks. Once again, thank you all so much for joining us here for the Quake World Championships. Day 2 is almost at an end. This isn't the final series, but it's one of. And as much of a marathon as it's been, we are getting down to that final 6. And from this point, let's find out how things begin here. Checking things out right now from the point of view of cha1n. And the patience begins already. And a nice delay between the two items.
Oh yeah, around 8 seconds. Heavy will be up first. Xron is the better positioning for that. Oh, there we go. Xron makes a move for the rockets. Pace. Costly price. That's 100 straight to the face. Can he even jump up? No, he can't, especially not after taking that 60 burst. And cha1n capitalizes on the opportunity. Excellent push, and now that offset between the items, right? The fact that he delayed the Mega pickup is going to help him out tremendously. He's firmly in control of both Mega and Heavy.
Delaying it again by the looks of things. And, well, similar to the Blood Covenant, in a certain manner, is that the control has established itself early. And this is always scary. Ison, who is one of the most dangerous champions on this map anyway, with someone like cha1n, who's been hitting some deliciously good shots all day, controlling the map immediately, where you can start to put things down. Hang on, then I said though, Xron with a wonderful steal on the Heavy. So perhaps we spoke too soon. Well, there's no we about it, just me.
A little too early by cha1n to get down below and take the low ground for Heavy. I think he would have done a better job if he had just stayed in control of the high ground, perhaps dropped down to the middle, but all the way down below. Especially when you're not playing a movement champion, you're not Ranger, right? You don't have anything to really get yourself up there with ease, so kind of gave Xron the better position.
I'm shocked cha1n didn't blow himself up there.
Yeah, 2 HP left. Gotta be careful around this asset. Dipping your toes in that at 2 points of health, that's going to be an instant kill. But cha1n maneuvers himself onto the health bubble first. And is now starting the rebuild. Still, he has to be evasive. Xron has got a sizable stack advantage. Nice rail, though. That's good. Xron lacking that weapon up until just now, and that is why cha1n was comfortable in taking fights at that distance. He knew perfectly well that Xron was unable to retaliate in any shape or form from that distance. Oh, but Xron, expert use of the orb right there, closes the distance from an unexpected angle and ties it up 2-2.
Now this was the extra element, is that cha1n was able to secure a frag, but it was quite an expensive one. In getting that frag, the damage was so real that it did allow Xron to take full map control, and that stack was put to wonderful use on the next rotation of the items, where obviously Xron was able to pick up a really, really strong orb there and the surprise attack. But now, with 2 frags apiece and the fact that we really have only just started, kind of curious to see where we go from here as cha1n. The high ground belongs to him. This heavy trying to be able to fight his way through. Wow, somehow turning that rocket jumped momentum into a 100 damage rocket. That was impressive stuff there from Xron.
Important as well. Xron very well could have died there if he hadn't hit that rocket, because he didn't make the jump all the way across. cha1n's LG pushed him down to the ground level, so if that rocket hadn't connected, cha1n could very well have just dropped on him and finished the frag.
cha1n is starting to get himself pretty healthy, all things considered. This heavy going to be the next objective. Xron has done a really good job of taking this heavy so far, but this is kind of one of the first times he's had to give it up. So now, cha1n, a bit more armor to work with than normal. What's going to be the next play? Because currently, Xron, building up towards those rail angles, hits 1 unreturned. That's a fantastic start for you. But we need a bit more, because now, mega taken once more. Full map control for cha1n.
So far, the railgun has seen very little use by cha1n. He's only fired 1 shot. Yes, he landed it, so he's currently sitting at 100% accuracy indeed. But compare that to Xron, who's hitting 50%, sure, but who's landed a whole lot more of those shots. cha1n finally making his way over to the railgun side of the map again, finding the opportunity to do so, and hoping to create some opportunities with it.
Always difficult to make some of those shots with rail when you're so fixated on trying not to give your own, hitbox away, as it were. So like sometimes, yeah, you're going to be missing those shots as you peek around the corner, but the reality is you're trying to stay safe. The damage is great if you get it, but you don't want to get hit on the way through. That's going to give them a push. In this case, actually, cha1n getting hit by a rail, Xron, the heavy, in his possession. And this has automatically just become a very interesting upcoming mega fight as Xron's in position, and I think cha1n's being careful again. He's just let him take the item, try and see if we can get like a bonus rail or maybe a rocket or something from range to shut that down before we push. But there's been such an emphasis here, Flea, on cha1n. Like that orb killed him twice.
Yeah.
And he does not want to mess with it again. He's been keeping him at such an arm's reach and beyond. It's kind of making perfect sense though, because we're just trying to stop Ranger from kind of stealing these frags away.
Xron has really done an excellent job at using that orb so far. He's used it to get himself frags, he's used it to get a proper position, steal away the heavy. Right, heavy can be very tricky, very costly to get a hold of, but by using that orb you can easily make your way onto it and often get away with it without taking all that much damage. And that's been a very important reason as to why Xron has been able to take away most of the heavy. 3 heavies in favor of cha1n versus 8 for Xron.
Xron's rocket jumps towards heavy have been really good so far. Been going so fast that even though you're getting caught by the LG, it's doing nothing to knock your momentum, and I guess that's one of the main reasons it can work so well for Ranger. Less self-damage thanks to the passive, which means that those kind of rocket jumps are a lot more common. And on a map like this, it's not just a matter of going towards heavy and then just being LG'd to death off the ledge and forward. But looks like we're going to see more of that armor about to spawn. cha1n, he's been playing this so careful. That rocket, a shame. He must have been so convinced that Xron was just going to take that heavy straight away.
Sneaky plays from Xron, slowly walking back, finding a nice angle to drop down the rocket. Now he's going to be aware of the turrets. Chip by chip. Slowly whittling down its health before he feels confident going through that teleporter. Keep in mind, if Xron loses this map, he is out of the championship.
He's going to fight tooth and nail to keep that life in the tournament, that's for sure. But we don't have a lot of time left. Throughout the course of the map, though, has definitely felt like Xron is the one that's dictating the pace. Had more stack, had more of the items, has consistently been more in position. But I think part of that is because cha1n has been comfortable to sit and just play careful. Xron has not been too aggressive. There hasn't been any moments like we saw in Blood Covenant where everything was going so well, and then in the blink of an eye, there's a push that maybe wasn't 100% worth it, and it kind of starts the downfall, if you will. Xron is not going to take any chances on this map, and it shows with such a low-scoring game.
It's really quite impressive how good of a job cha1n has done at hanging on to this tight game. As you just said, Xron has been in control for these past couple of minutes, and he's playing Ranger. cha1n has nothing to work with in terms of movement. If Xron manages to get close and use the orb, he's in deep trouble like he might be now, but no! Okay,
there's the rail.
Yeah, the orb clips the wall, almost negates Xron's offensive right there, but then the rail comes out clutch, and oh no, cha1n! He is so lucky that Xron... No! What? The LG catch-up, that was all that mattered. Xron ran out of LG ammo just as he was getting the float. That allowed cha1n to get away, survive, and then Xron felt like he just had to push in, kind of fumbled the movement, messed up the assault, and cha1n just reversed that on him.
You know, I could go in for some kind of analysis. Instead, I'm just going to say, dude, that sucks. Imagine being in that situation there when you have such a good little play and then kind of just the ammo falls on the floor, you're trying to pick it up, tripping over your own shoelaces. Poor old Ranger. But what does that mean? It means cha1n is back in the fight, and it means that cha1n is healthier than ever. One would think maybe a chance for full map control, because keeping an eye on both of these items, the Heavy and the Mega, has to make a bit of a choice, but instead of making a choice, I think cha1n's going to want to listen out for Xron. There's the orb to steal it away, but if cha1n's able to uncontested take this Mega, then they're both going to get an item for free, which will set up for a interesting potential final fight, because here we are, minute 15 on the clock. This could be over soon.
If Xron loses this map, he's going to be kicking himself over that one. That is the decisive moment that gave way to his downfall. So let's hope for his sake that that doesn't end up happening. Now we've got cha1n over towards the Heavy. First one to set up. Oh, takes a rail, jumps across, takes another one. But Xron, critically low himself, cannot afford to push here. Has to fall back down below. Oh, that rail, so close! But it ultimately just doesn't connect.
I think we all felt that one. That rail narrowly misses its mark, but it's actually unreturned on both sides, which is only ever going to help cha1n because Mega collected Heavy. The next objective, actually, the orb used preemptively. The orb has been the one ticket towards stealing the Heavy, and this time he's not going to have it. No, that could have been the play that ends it all. What a shame to use it 10 seconds before Heavy appears. Get nothing from it, and you just go down, Flea.
This is a disaster. Xron, 10 seconds left. He doesn't even have the orb to work with. All cha1n has to do is plus back, and that's exactly how he wants to play this. Using the sound cues to stay far away from his opponent. Then cha1n, he's done it. He's knocking Xron out of the tournament and will continue to advance.
Welcome back, Wheat. I'm assuming you have a few things to say about that.
I mean, you know, I've got quite a few things here as we potentially line up yet another interview here for cha1n. You know, first and foremost, all of those comments that we made about cha1n a while ago as he breathes a sigh of relief, I'm sure, you know, they're coming back. We could take a lot of those comments. We could apply them to now. Here's a player who showed a lot of promise, went through their own trials and tribulations, shows up to LAN once again, finds himself in a top 6. Pretty damn impressive. The other thing I would like to say is that, you know, the challengers, I think, represented by every single one who qualified. You think about their stories, how well they did here at this competition, and the fact that Ron himself was so close to making that top 6 says a lot. And I hope that we get to see more from the many of the challengers who fought their way here, were ultimately able to play in the LAN. You know, certainly the world's in a weird situation anyway. Ron being able to play, I think was really great. But, you know, kind of, you know, marching with that torch of the challengers as far as possibly could. cha1n deserved that victory. I think I'm, you know, curious to talk with him a little bit more. But, yeah, I mean, so much kind of happened in that last matchup. I like the last game quite a bit. We do have cha1n ready. We do have one more match coming up in just a moment, but we want to hear from cha1n yet again. So we're going to drag him up here on stage for his second appearance. Here is your headset, brother. Don't just ignore that. I don't
even know what that is.
that was. There's pieces back here. cha1n, congratulations. And you were here just, it seems like, about an hour ago. Yeah. Congratulations. We talked about your performance in previous finals here, and one of the things and I don't know if you remember us talking about this, but we was like, wow, cha1n's a guy you got to look for. Even you admitted in your interview that ahead of time that you had your ups, you had your downs. Not quite to the finish line yet, but certainly I have to imagine you're pretty happy about the progress you've made here at the competition and making it to finals day. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that was also such a tough match. Like, I don't know how I did it. That's my 5th match today. And
yeah.
I had 2 match points in the losers bracket against Sparty. So I was down 1-0 or 0-1. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know what the hell happened. But like, game just feels so, I'm just understanding what's going on so well that I can just focus on like creativity.
Yeah.
And feels good.
Do you feel pretty confident that you're going to be able to take that from today? Because certainly today represented a lot of stamina needed, and that does happen at these types of LAN events. But do you feel pretty confident you're going to be able to take that and bring it into the finals day tomorrow?
As long as I get a good sleep, like we're pretty lucky. We get to play, like the days start kind of late, so we can sleep in a little bit. Like as long as my body's okay, yeah, I see no reason why it can't happen again tomorrow. Like, it's the first time where I actually feel like I don't really care who I play now.
Nice.
Oh,
so, yeah.
All right, well, cha1n, congratulations. I just want to pick your brain a little bit about that first map. It is one of the, if not the slowest series we've seen throughout this entire tournament. Yeah. Is that something that you went in with a strategy beforehand? Was that deliberate, like, I'm going to really slow play it? Or did you just kind of go with the flow and react to what Xron did?
It was like, go with the flow. I saw Xron's game earlier, like a 20-minute game.
Versus Toxic.
Yeah, versus Toxic, like a 10-minute overtime. He plays it slow, but like the problem with Nyx is she can't spam her ability really. Like it's hard, and Anarchy can. So I just kept spamming my ability, and there was nothing he could really do. So I was, even if he hits a rail, like it's only net 30 maybe stack for him after a kit, and then I steal all the vials. So if he messes up once, it's like I'm in control. So I actually like that matchup a lot. And like he banned Athena, which makes sense because Athena's probably like the strongest on that map. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm picking very well today.
Right.
Like, I'm picking very well.
I guess one sort of final question from me is the ups and downs are real, when it comes to your personal progression. And I'm sure you'll be the first person to admit it. Yeah. But with this weekend in particular, it really feels like the up is starting to come back, because I mean this has been an incredible result on its own. Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? By all means, you could take it even further. The cha1n of old versus the cha1n now. How do you compare yourself to those time periods? Because it's starting to feel a bit like you're coming back.
Yeah, like when I was playing before a lot, like probably over a year ago, my practice was worse. Like I've these past 6 weeks, like my practice has been probably top tier. But now, like, there's something flipped where I feel like I could actually win. So I don't know. It's like this game is so mental. It's like 99% mental. Yeah. It really, really is. So I don't know.
Perfect time for that switch to be flipped, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes the best thing is a little time away, a little bit of time just to reflect. But I completely agree, cha1n. This game could be incredibly mental. We want to say congratulations again for making it to the finals day. We're going to see you here again tomorrow. I won't keep you around for too much longer because I know you probably do want to get some sleep. So congratulations, dude. An amazing day. I know it was a marathon, but you deserved it. Very, very well done. Any final words that you'd like to say to the fans, the audience out there?
Not really. I mean, I guess I'm the only Russian left in the tournament, like Russian, Canadian. So I hope the Russians are cheering for me. Good luck to Zeneku and Rafa. It's a shame that one of them has to go home because I know how bad both of them want it. But it's going to be a great last match, so good luck to both of them.
All right. cha1n, thank you very much. As he mentioned, we got one more match coming up. That's going to be Zeniku versus Rafa. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, our final match of day 2 to usher us into tomorrow, Championship Saturday. Don't go away. Our final match comes up right after this.
Don't.